As a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service, I've witnessed and experienced things that defy explanation, incidents that have shaped my understanding of the wilderness and its hidden horrors. These are some of my stories, raw and unsettling, shared to shed light on what truly lies beyond the trails. My primary role is finding missing persons, and I have a good track record. Most disappearances are easily explained: a wrong turn, a minor fall, and a lost sense of direction. The "stay where you are" advice often works, keeping them close. But two cases, in particular, haunt me, driving me to search even harder. The first involved a young boy berry picking with his sister. Their parents lost sight of them for mere seconds, and both children vanished. We quickly found the daughter, who, to our horror, claimed her brother was taken by the bear man. She described him as tall, hairy like a bear, with a weird face, and said he gave her berries, telling her to stay quiet while he played with her brother. The last she saw, her brother was calmly riding on his shoulders. Despite extensive searches for weeks, we found no trace of another human, nor the boy. The second case involved a young woman hiking with her mother and grandfather. Her mother stated she climbed a tree for a better view and never descended. They waited for hours before calling for help. We scoured the area, but, once again, no trace. Neither her mother nor grandfather saw her come down. Beyond these unresolved mysteries, other strange occurrences plague our work. My canine partners have, on several occasions, attempted to lead me straight up sheer, unscalable cliffs, not hills, but vertical rock faces with no handholds. It's baffling. In these instances, the missing person is invariably found either on the opposite side of the cliff or miles away from where the canine led us. There must be a logical explanation, but it remains elusive. Some cases are less about the unexplained and more about profound tragedy. I recall the recovery of a 9-year-old girl who fell down an embankment and was impaled on a dead tree. It was a complete freak accident. The sound her mother made when we delivered the news, her heart-wrenching wail as she saw the body bag, is a sound I'll never forget. It was the sound of a life shattering. Another SAR officer later told me the mother took her own life weeks later, unable to bear the loss. One rescue involved a climber with a broken leg, trapped in a crevasse for nearly 2 days. We were responding to bear sightings when we found him. He was inconsolable, babbling about a man he'd encountered at the summit, a man with no climbing gear, wearing a parka and ski pants, but with a blank, featureless face. He claimed he panicked, tried to descend too quickly, and fell. He swore he heard the men all night, climbing down the mountain, letting out muffled screams. That story chilled me to the bone. The most terrifying personal experience involved searching for a young woman separated from her hiking group. The dogs picked up her scent late at night. We found her curled under a rotted log, shoeless and packless, clearly in shock. She had no physical injuries, but as we walked her back to base, she repeatedly asked why that big man with black eyes was following us. We saw no one and attributed it to shock, but her agitation grew. She demanded I tell him to stop making faces at her. At one point, she stopped, yelling into the forest that she wouldn't go with him, wouldn't give us to him. Then we started hearing it, a rhythmic, deep, insect-like coughing sound, coming from all around us. As we neared base ops, her eyes widened impossibly, and she touched my shoulder, whispering, "He says to tell you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at the scar on your neck." I have a small scar at the base of my neck, usually hidden. Just then, that guttural cough echoed right in my ear. I hustled her to safety, immensely relieved to leave the area. Then there are the stairs. This is the strangest, most unsettling phenomenon we encounter. Deep in the wilderness, 30 or 40 miles out, we frequently stumble upon staircases. They look exactly like stairs from a house, cut out and placed in the middle of nowhere, with various styles and conditions, from dilapidated ruins to brand new, carpeted sets. When I first saw them, my colleagues casually dismissed them as normal and emphatically warned me never to go near them. I've since seen them countless times and, like everyone else, I now ignore them. Superiors have explicitly told us not to talk about them, a rule we've all internalized to the point where they no longer seem strange. The overwhelming interest in my initial stories prompted me to elaborate. Many noted the similarities to David Paulide's work. I can confirm many of his observations. Unsolved missing persons cases, people found in impossible locations, these are real. The stairs, in particular, generated much discussion. They vary in height, but none seem to ascend infinitely. I haven't photographed them, fearing for my job, but I might try in the future. The climber who saw that men with no face described him as a man in a parka and ski pants at the peak, whose face was utterly blank. About half of my calls are missing persons, the rest are rescues for injuries from falls, fires, or animal encounters. The missing persons cases, especially those with no trace, are infuriating. One, in particular, left us all scratching our heads. An older man with a history of seizures went missing from a well-established trail. A veteran SAR officer found his walking stick dangling from a branch 30 feet up a tree, an impossible feat for the men. We searched for weeks, but the canines lost his scent long before this tree. His wife called daily, her hope slowly dwindling. The sheer improbability of the stick's location, the questions it raised, was it a taunt, still bothers us. Missing children are the most heartbreaking. While rare, finding them deceased is always a profound blow. Paulides mentions children found in impossible places, and I've witnessed one such case personally. A mother and her 3 children were picnicking 2 miles into the woods, on a clear trail. She turned her head for 4 seconds, and her 5-year-old son vanished. Her other 2 children, seemingly drugged and disoriented, claimed a big man with a scary face led him into the trees. We searched for weeks, covering miles, finding no trace, no scent, no clothing, nothing. Months later, a volunteer found his body 15 miles from where he vanished, halfway up a treacherous, rocky slope that a 5-year-old could not have scaled. He had no scratches, his feet were clean, and he appeared to have been dead for only a day or 2, despite being missing for over a month. The coroner determined he froze to death. The entire situation was bizarre and deeply unsettling. One of my first assignments as a trainee was finding a 4-year-old boy. The dogs were on a strong scent, and we found him quickly in a berry patch. On the way back, my trainer took me on a detour to a known hotspot for finding missing people, a natural dip near a popular trail. About 8 miles from the main parking area, in a state-protected area with no development, I saw something with straight edges, a staircase. It was a normal, beige-carpeted staircase, 10 steps high, just sitting there in the middle of the woods, like a glitch in reality. My trainer, completely unfazed, told me to get used to it and, gripping my arm tightly, warned me never to go near them. She was right, I now see them on about every 5th call, sometimes close to the path, sometimes 20 or 30 miles out. They are always different, but always out of place. No one offers an explanation, just the same warning. Not all stories are spooky, some are simply sad. A young man went missing late one winter, and we knew finding him would be unlikely until the thaw. We found him in spring, at the base of a tree, dead from snow immersion suffocation. He'd fallen into a tree well, a hidden pocket of loose snow, air, and branches around a tree trunk, and suffocated, upside down. The thought of his desperate struggle in the freezing dark, slowly suffocating as the snow packed around him, is terrifying. Some friends ask if I've seen the goatman. I haven't, but one peculiar incident comes close. An elderly woman fainted on a trail after hearing a strange sound, like a cat, but off. She realized it was a man saying, meow, meow, repeatedly, but with a bizarre, buzzing quality to his voice. She fainted when a shape emerged from the trees. I later went back to the area and heard the same monotone, buzzing, meow, coming from all directions. It was unsettling, though I never heard it again. My job has exposed me to a range of experiences, from tragic accidents to the truly inexplicable. Recently, at a training op, I spoke with KD, a veteran SAR officer specializing in high-elevation mountain rescues. She shared a harrowing story of an entire family wiped out by an avalanche due to the father's recklessness. She found the uninjured child, who had gone for help, frozen to death, curled in a pitiful position, tears frozen on his face. She also recounted a grisly discovery as a rookie, a disemboweled climber, impaled by his own ice pick, leaving a trail of blood and tissue. KD also confirmed the complete disappearance phenomenon. She recounted a case where a 5-year-old boy vanished while berry picking. A massive, 2-month search yielded nothing. 6 months later, his family returned to the memorial, and their other son, also under 5, vanished in plain sight for 3 seconds. A week later, a volunteer found him alive, 15 miles away. His clothes were clean, he wasn't traumatized, and he claimed he'd been with the Fuzzy Men, a blurry figure with no eyes who kept him in a hollow tree and fed him berries. The boy said the fuzzy men had to let him go because he wasn't the right kind. His brother was never found. KD also shared a personal terrifying experience. As a rookie, she got separated from her training group. She suddenly experienced profound disorientation, unable to even recall what state she was in. A low, croaking voice in her head urged her to find something to eat. She found herself reaching for her hunting knife, overcome by an insatiable hunger, before another SAR officer found her. She learned she'd been missing for 2 days, traversed 2 peaks, and was on the verge of wandering into hundreds of miles of wilderness. Doctors attributed it to a fugue state, but she now refuses to go into the woods alone. EW, a former trainer now EMT, specialized in finding lost children. He shared a story about an 11-year-old boy, Joey, who vanished near a river. Dogs led them away from the river, and they noticed Joey scent only appeared in alternating boxes of their search grid, never overlapping. EW found Joey's body curled on the bottom step of a staircase 50 yards away. He was dead, clutching his stomach, with blood on his lips. The coroner later revealed the boy's organs were riddled with quarter-sized, clean holes, as if hole-punched, with no external injuries. EW couldn't forget it, and it ultimately led him to leave SAR. He warned me that bad things exist out there, things that don't care if we have families or lives. PB, another veteran, also discussed the stairs. He warned me about them, explaining that when he first started, the Forest Service would have new hires sign agreements not to talk about the strange occurrences, but they eventually found people wouldn't talk anyway. He recounted horrific incidents, a man whose hand was cleanly severed on the top step, and a woman who touched a stair and died instantly from an exploded brain blood vessel. He said that even if nothing happens to the person who goes near them, something bad always happens to someone else nearby. A child vanishes, a body is found. He also pointed out that you never find the same set of stairs twice. He dropped out of the training op the next day, claiming illness, and hasn't been heard from since. A firefighter told me about a rescue involving a child stuck high in a massive tree. When he reached the top, he found a child's mangled body, intestines hanging from branches, eyes gone. He said the kid seemed to have popped like a stress ball from some unknown force. He was horrified, pushing the body down with a stick rather than carrying it. The incident, the way the captain called the child evidence, deeply disturbed him. Another veteran, who reads my stories, acknowledged the Forest Service's cover-up of these strange events. He confirmed the existence of flipped staircases, stairs upside down, with the top step buried in the dirt. He found these even more unsettling, harder to dismiss as simple oddities. He also shared his own no-face encounter. He followed a figure at night, thinking it was a lost rookie, only to discover a man with a blank, smooth face, whose movements were impossibly fast and whose throat opened into a gaping, smiling gash. He ran, utterly terrified. A female colleague shared a chilling childhood story. Growing up in rural northern Maine, an unspoken rule was never to venture more than a mile or 2 beyond their homes. After a massive forest fire, some firefighters returned, not quite the same. She and a friend hiked to the burnt-out area, 2 miles in, where they found a deer skeleton with weird antlers. Deeper in, they heard someone shouting for help. A man approached, his face mutilated, nose, lips, and part of his forehead cleanly sliced off. He was babbling, asking how long he'd been gone and where his unit was, dressed in strange, formal gray clothing with red borders. He screamed at her, "Don't touch me. You'll make me go back there," before running off. She never played in the woods with her friend again. A friend of mine, a seasoned ranger, once confided in me about cases where people die under impossible circumstances. He described finding an old man with a completely decimated skull on a popular trail, with no blood trail or impact site. It looked like he'd smashed his head on a rock, but there were no rocks. Another time, he found a woman in the middle of a high desert, curled around a tree, perfectly dry, but her lungs and stomach were full of water, drowning her. There were no bodies of water for miles. He found it disturbing, questioning why someone would commit such elaborate murders if they were indeed murders. Another deeply unsettling case involved a young man with Down syndrome who vanished from a major path. His mother was convinced he was kidnapped. We found him the next day in a canyon, spine and legs broken, fading fast. He whispered about the little sad boy who wanted him to play and trade so he could go home. He then said, "Mama won't see me no more. Love Mama, wish she was here," and died. This case profoundly rattled me. A senior ranger, who helped me through the difficult case, shared a disturbing story about a human hand found perfectly severed and fused inside a hollow, living tree in a section of parkland sold to a logging company. The hand was fresh, not mummified. Police investigated, but no explanation was ever found, and it became a local legend. During a training op, a fellow SAR officer recounted a bizarre encounter while looking for mountain lions. He saw men approaching him, doing crazy fucking backflips, clearing logs and bushes with impossible precision. He fired a warning shot, and the men whirled around, backflipping away. He reported it to the police, but the incident left him deeply unnerved. The sheer volume of these unexplained occurrences has forced me to acknowledge that something deeply unsettling is happening in these woods. While I won't offer theories, I urge everyone to be safe. Bring water, food, and survival equipment. Tell people your plans. Don't venture onto uncharted paths unless you are fully prepared. And above all, don't touch them. Don't look at them. Don't go up them. My superiors have formally forbidden me from speaking about these things, especially the stairs. This will be my final update. I cannot risk my job, but my awareness of what's happening allows me to subtly direct people away from danger. The stories continue to circulate, some of them truly horrifying: a young woman found with half her tongue and a quarter of her jaw cleanly severed, children found in impossibly tight spaces, on mountain peaks, or with their shoes missing despite being miles from where they vanished. Stories of black-eyed people mimicking animal sounds, or a man made of raw meat and hair, who mimicked gunshots and zipper sounds. And the climber who waved from a peak miles away before snapping in half sideways and leaping off the cliff. There are so many things I may never understand. But I will come back to share more when I can, perhaps in a different format. Thank you for your support and interest. Until then, be safe in the woods.